I will say, though, when I finally did make it back, I got to witness one of the greatest shows that Los Angeles has ever put on, 39 days of World Cup fever. 8 of those games were played right here in our own backyard, one of which I was lucky enough to attend. I know they're called matches, not games, but the American in me is very evident. I know I'm not alone when I say that I couldn't get enough of it. And by it, I don't just mean soccer. I mean the entire experience of watching the world come together right here in LA. So many people, even if they didn't catch a match, even if they didn't like soccer, felt the energy. A sense of community that was infectious, a spirit of connection that transcended every barrier. That's the magic of sports. We didn't need to speak the same language to share the same joy. And for a few fleeting weeks, every time that 90-minute clock started, no one felt like a stranger. I really loved it. I hope you did too. The whole world was watching us this summer, but of course, the world has been watching LA for quite some time. Los Angeles has always been a place of pioneers, a laboratory for America to test its biggest and boldest ideas. What we solve here, we solve for everyone. It's expected of us. I think that's because on paper, Los Angeles shouldn't exist. The people who built this place saw a future that no one else could. They staked their improbable dreams on a patch of desert and turned it into one of the most important cities in the world. And all these years later, the world is still watching us. And Los Angeles County is still a place where people come to see the future. And yet, before I ran for this office, the Board of Supervisors was firmly stuck in the past. Departments writing things in triplicate, using systems from a bygone era, a procurement process so slow that after we as a board unanimously voted to commission a governance study, an entire year had passed before we even hired a consultant to do the work. We wouldn't accept that pace of progress just about anywhere in our society. We only accept it from government because it's what we've come to expect. We've been conditioned to believe that inertia is inevitable, just an unavoidable feature of government. And in a way, I shouldn't have been surprised. When I first considered running for supervisor, I was told in no uncertain terms that the board was a place where leaders went to end their career. The bureaucracy lumbered along because it's what bureaucracies do, and most of those in power had seemed at peace with it. In case I haven't made crystal clear over the last 3.5 years, it's safe to say I did not run for supervisor to make peace with the status quo. I ran because I saw firsthand the status quo wasn't working for far too many of us. I ran because I'm impatient, which may very well be the defining quality of my generation. Some people see that as a bad thing. They say that our attention is shot, that we need everything at the tap of a screen. And maybe there's some truth to that. But I look at it a little differently. Is someone dying of thirst impatient for water? Is a family spending months fighting insurance claims after losing their home impatient for answers? When someone sees a loved one going through a mental health crisis, are they impatient for help? Or is impatience just what we call urgency when we want to dismiss it? Patience can be a virtue in life, but it's a luxury that can become an obstacle in government, a luxury too many Angelenos simply cannot afford. So let me tell you exactly what impatient leadership looks like to me. Impatient leadership means accountability for the hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars we've poured into the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. I'm sure some of you have seen the numbers released last month, and that data only reinforces the fact that the current system isn't working, and temporary solutions aren't going to cut it. That's why I've been focused on overhauling how the county responds to homelessness. We conducted multiple audits of LAHSA, and year after year, we found the same thing. It can't track where the money goes, and it can't demonstrate outcomes. Now, we had some options. We could have continued doing more audits, or maybe waited another year to confirm what every Angeleno who steps outside already knows about this crisis. That might have been acceptable in the past, but we've had enough of good enough. So instead, we called the question on homelessness. We took back that money and put it under the direct oversight of our auditor controller. We opened a new emergency response center for urgent homelessness cases, and we're standing up a new results-driven department that will be accountable for every single dollar. No more throwing good money after bad, no more shifting blame or pointing fingers. But we can't do it alone. We need the city to meet us where we are, and I know Beverly Hills knows this well. We need the state to step up. We need the federal government to stop waging war on us, because it's all our responsibility. You deserve to know what your taxes are paying for. And the more than 70,000 Angelenos on our streets deserve a place to sleep at night. Impatient leadership means passing the first reform to our county charter in more than 100 years. A lot of people in this room have run big organizations, so let me pose a hypothetical. What happens when you have 5 co-equal CEOs overseeing 38 departments and a nearly $50 billion budget? I'll cut to the chase. Nothing. Nothing happens. Or when it does, it happens so slowly that urgent problems linger and progress doesn't match the scale of the problem. That was the LA County of the past. In November of 2024, the voters of LA County ran out of patience too. They passed Measure G, a historic reform that expands the board from 5 to 9 and creates a single county executive, bringing clearer accountability and greater transparency to how county government operates. And I know some of you might hear that and think, more government? What it actually is better government. And I'm going to tell you why. When the fires hit last January, LA County faced 2 generational disasters at once, one in the east and one in the west, each with different geographies and leaders, and because of the way government works, different strategies on the ground. Residents had vastly different experiences getting emergency notifications. First responders received orders from different command structures, and fragmented decision-making cost valuable time. Meanwhile, the fires kept blazing, because guess what? Fire also seems to be pretty damn impatient too. This issue has come up in our rebuilding efforts as well. Getting consensus to create a centralized rebuilding authority took far too long, though I've heard other jurisdictions are now coming around to it, and it's a long overdue solution. A county executive puts an end to that. Having one clear leader with one clear vision, it's just common sense, especially for large-scale emergencies. So is revamping our Office of Emergency Management. Some of you may have seen the after-action report we received last fall, and it's not how we want Los Angeles County to be showing up in a time of crisis. Emergency communications were fragmented. Technology failed, or it was too slow because we inherited it from another century. The office that was supposed to protect 10 million Angelenos only had 37 full-time employees. To put that in perspective, New York City's office has about 200 for about 1.5 million fewer people. After 9/11, New York City built a large-scale emergency management office that became a model for regions around the world. That's the model I'm calling for here in LA County. That should be part of the legacy of the Eaton and Palisades fires. An emergency management department with the people and resources necessary to serve a county of this size. Our region's safety and resilience cannot be passive. Impatient leadership also means not waiting for the next drought or fire to talk about water. In May, I convened the 3rd annual LA County Water Summit, and I'll say the same thing here that I did there. Most people think water and wildfires are separate crises, but they aren't. A wildfire is also a water disaster, as we saw firsthand last January. Too many LA communities have only one source of water, which means they're one disaster away from having no water at all. So we're building the connections. For example, Waterworks District 29 in Malibu is now physically connected to Las Virgenes Municipal Water District. If one system goes down, the other can keep the water flowing. That's part of a $250 million transformation we are making throughout the entire system. My vision, and what I hope is all our vision, is that every water system in Los Angeles County has either an emergency connection like that one or a viable backup supply. And we aren't waiting for disaster to erupt. Resilience is built before disaster strikes, not during it. That's why my first act as board chair was to introduce the first ever county water plan, convening 200 water agencies to secure a safe, resilient water future and invest in our regional infrastructure. This is the first plan of its kind ever in LA County history, which I honestly found surprising because if you know anything about LA, you know water is essential to both our past and our future. But this is about more than emergency preparedness. The world is coming back to Los Angeles in 2028 for the Olympic and Paralympic Games. And what kind of LA do we want them to experience? I know my answer. A county where water works at every game, at every venue, for every visitor, and for generations to come. And the infrastructure we build today will serve Los Angeles for decades after the closing ceremonies. Impatient leadership means making sure the next generation, our kids and grandkids, can afford to live in the community they call home. Every week, I talk to families across the county. Whether they're in Sylmar or Calabasas or right here in Beverly Hills, they all tell me the same thing. Their kids can't afford to stay. The next generation is being priced out of Los Angeles. The builders, the creators, those who are shaping our collective culture are leaving. There are no easy fixes here, but I'll tell you this. If we don't tackle these crises, the state is going to step in and make the decisions for us. I believe in local control, and I know you do too. You always have. Back in the 20s, a group of Hollywood stars fought to keep Beverly Hills independent from the city of Los Angeles. But the best way to maintain local control is to use it. We have to have the hard conversations and make the hard decisions before Sacramento does it for us. Our work is just beginning. The water plan, the new Department for Homeless Services and Housing, the county executive, the emergency management investments, and just keeping our kids in the place they call home. All this work is ongoing, and its success will depend on all of us. Sometimes it will get messy. Sometimes it will be uncomfortable or unpopular, but that usually means you're making real, lasting change, not just tinkering around the edges. This is the work I came to do because I know the alternative is unacceptable. The polite, patient, business-as-usual governance of the past has paved the way for the problems we're trying to dig ourselves out of. Just ask LADWP. And it's a one-way ticket to a county that loses the right to make our own decisions, that watches our best and brightest leave. that is still fighting over the last fire when the next one hits. That isn't the future people come to Los Angeles County to experience. And it isn't a future I will accept so long as I have the privilege of serving this county. I know the challenges we face are daunting, but Los Angeles is up to the challenge. And if progress feels improbable, just remember, we live in one of the most improbable places in the world, a place that on paper shouldn't exist, a dream in a desert, built by impatient people who refuse to accept the status quo, a place that the whole world is watching. This is the story of Los Angeles. And when the rest of the country says it can't be done, Los Angeles says, watch us. Thank you.